69 BC. In the heart of Alexandria, a city built on the collision of Greek and Egyptian culture, a princess of the Ptolemaic line is born. But she is not Egyptian. She is a Macedonian Greek, a descendant of the legendary generals of Alexander the Great. Her blood was built for conquest. While her kin indulged in palace luxury, Cleopatra immersed herself in the museum, the intellectual center of the world. She mastered philosophy, rhetoric, and importantly, 9 languages. She was a weapon forged in ink and parchment. She was the first of her 300-year dynasty to speak the native tongue of the Egyptians, a strategic masterstroke. This allowed her to bypass interpreters and speak directly to the powerful priesthood, securing their absolute loyalty. In 51 BC, upon the death of her father, 18-year-old Cleopatra ascended to the throne alongside her 10-year-old brother, Ptolemy XIII. Per the rigid, incestuous tradition of the Ptolemies, they were married to maintain the divine line. But Cleopatra had no intention of sharing power. She immediately began ignoring her brother's regency. Her first coins bore only her face, a silent declaration of war against her brother's powerful advisors. The advisors struck back. A palace coup forced her into exile, but she was already planning her return through Rome. Driven into exile, Cleopatra realized she could not reclaim Egypt with a mercenary army alone. She needed Rome. Smuggling herself past her brother's blockade inside a papyrus laundry sack carried by Apollodorus, she sought an audience with Julius Caesar. She confronted the most powerful man in the world. She didn't offer her beauty. She offered him the wealth of Egypt. She offered him grain and gold to fuel his wars in exchange for the total destruction of her rivals. The ensuing siege of Alexandria was a bloodbath. The city burned, and the great library's storehouses were lost to the flames. Cleopatra's brother, Ptolemy XIII, met his end in the Nile, weighed down by the very golden armor he wore for glory. Caesar reinstated her, but forced a second marriage with her youngest brother, Ptolemy XIV, to satisfy local tradition. In 47 BC, she bore a son, Ptolemy XV, better known as Caesarion, the Little Caesar. He was the ultimate political asset, a child who bridged the bloodlines of the Egyptian pharaohs and the Roman Republic. To the Roman Senate, he was a threat to their republic. To Cleopatra, he was the future of the entire world. The assassination of Caesar in 44 BC sent shockwaves across the Mediterranean. Her world was once again in chaos. Cleopatra fled Rome and returned to Egypt, where her second brother and co-regent died under mysterious circumstances. Allegedly poisoned on her orders, Ptolemy XIV was removed to clear the path for Caesarion's sole rule. By 41 BC, a new Roman power rose, Mark Antony. He summoned her to Tarsus to account for her loyalty. Cleopatra arrived in a display of calculated opulence that history has mistaken for romance. It was a cold military pact. She would fund his legions with Egyptian gold. He would execute her enemies, including her own sister, Arsinoe. Arsinoe was dragged from her sanctuary in Ephesus and put to death. Cleopatra left no rivals standing. By 34 BC, Cleopatra and Antony had 3 children, the twins Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene, and young Ptolemy Philadelphus. In the donations of Alexandria, Antony crowned her children as monarchs of Rome's eastern territories, an act of treason. This gave Octavian the casus belli he needed for war. He branded her a foreign witch who had bewitched a Roman hero. 31 BC. The fleets met off the coast of Greece at Actium. The fate of the Mediterranean was to be decided on the water. When the battle turned, Cleopatra made a desperate choice. She withdrew her ships to save the Egyptian treasury. Antony, gripped by despair, abandoned his men to follow her, effectively surrendering the Roman world to Octavian. In 30 BC, Octavian entered Alexandria as a conqueror. The era of the pharaohs was coming to a violent end. Antony, believing a false report of the queen's death, fell on his sword, ending the life of Rome's greatest general. Days later, Cleopatra committed her final act of defiance. She chose a quick-acting poison over Roman chains. When Octavian's guards breached the mausoleum, they found the last pharaoh already cold. Beside her, her maid Charmian spent her final breath straightening her mistress's crown, a final act of defiance against Rome. The aftermath was brutal. Octavian ordered the execution of the 17-year-old Caesarion, the last true rival to his power. "Two Caesars are one too many," Octavian declared. The bloodline of Julius Caesar and Cleopatra was severed. Cleopatra's other children were taken to Rome in chains, ending 3,000 years of pharaonic history. Egypt became a Roman province. The wealth of the Nile now served the needs of an emperor, not a queen. But the search for its last queen remains an obsession. Today, archaeologists explore deeper into the earth at Taposiris Magna, searching for the tomb of the woman who nearly broke an empire. Cleopatra VII, the queen who lived forever. History is written by the victors, but the truth stays buried. Unmask the past with us. Subscribe for more lost legends.